Alright, so hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a best gaming PC manufacturer tier list. I know I'm a bit late to the trend, but today I thought we might as well just do it. And before we get into this, guys, this is all opinions, alright? This is my feelings on these companies and my experience from them. You guys might have different opinions on where these things should go, and that's perfectly fine. But the main reason why you're watching this video, or just the main reason that this video is there, is just to kind of talk about my opinions on different companies. So yeah, and as well, if you guys do like the channel content, hit that subscribe button, and if you guys want to, like the video, do whatever, or just debate me in the comment section down below about, why you think some things should go there or not. Alright, so the first company that I want to talk about is Lyte Gaming PCs. Now, for those of you who don't know who Lyte Gaming PCs is as a company, they're mainly a budget-oriented PC maker. Either they get components that are old or kind of used but are refurbished and try to make gaming PCs that are extremely good value. Though they've kind of deviated that from the past, and I've heard some stuff, where some of the stuff comes caked in dust. So it's not amazing, but I still think that they offer pretty decent value. Again, I don't really recommend them too much anymore, just because there are other companies that are within their niche that I think do a better job than what they do. But I definitely think that they are innovating. I think they're still trying. They are still a small company. So when it comes down to it, I'm kind of looking at them and seeing if they are going to innovate in the future and going to be able to create better products down the line. But as of right now, they probably aren't a solid recommendation for me, though I don't think it's a terrible company. So I'm probably going to throw them in the C category. Now again, C doesn't mean in terms of grading scale, it just means middle of the pack for this one. So C is right in the middle between all of these three tiers, and these three tiers basically just means that you're mediocre. You're not bad, you're not great, it's just kind of, it's there. Alright, so the next one I'm going to talk about is going to be Digital Storms. This is a company that is in a lot of controversy, especially on my channel. One of my most viewed videos is a video talking about why you shouldn't be buying a Digital Storms gaming PC. And though I probably wasn't the best in terms of articulating my overall thoughts on it, I probably was a little bit negative towards them than probably I should have been, but I still kind of believe in the overall sentiment, right? These guys are a quote-unquote premium or boutique kind of gaming PC company. They've thrown a lot of extra stuff, and because of that, it's usually a lot more expensive than you would be buying from another company. So you're paying around $700 for their lowest end system that doesn't even have a graphics card in it, which definitely is not good. But again, they basically just kind of put all this stuff towards their support and I guess quote unquote quality. Though when it comes down to it, a lot of other companies kind of get into the same kind of range that they do. So I don't think Digital Storms is anything crazy, though I do think that some people kind of have them in their niche. So I'm going to put them as a C just because of that. I don't think that they're terrible, but I don't think that they're good either. They're just kind of in that same kind of weird mix. Now we're going to talk about a fairly more obscure one next. So this is ABS. So for those of you who have no idea who ABS is, I mean, I wouldn't blame you for not knowing who they are. They are Newegg's in-house brand. So if you guys have ever been on the site Newegg, which a lot of you guys probably have been, it's a great place to get computer hardware and technology stuff, but they do have an in-house brand of gaming PCs called ABS. Now these PCs usually go towards kind of the price to performance category more than some other companies. Now they do kind of skip out in terms of quality of the parts, so sometimes they don't really get the best cooling for their system. Sometimes, the CPU coolers for sure are usually a bit lacking. Sometimes memory speeds aren't the best, sometimes motherboards aren't the best, power supplies and all that other kind of stuff. They do cheap out, but overall the system components are usually pretty decent value. And I recommend some of their PCs. Again, it's just kind of a scenario based thing, whereas if something meets your price point and has all the things, then sometimes I will recommend them to you, just because they might be better than other stuff out there on the market. And so that's where I think they land as a solid B. Again, they don't do anything that I feel warrants them to be an A category company. They do a lot of things right, but they also don't do a lot of things right. But I definitely think that more of the pros weigh out the cons on this one, so that's kind of why I'm going to put them in the B tier. Alright, so I kind of want to get this one out of the way, just because it's a little bit of a niche one, but I definitely think it is the best on here. So if any of you guys have a Microcenter near you, you can probably just search it up in Google search, but it is a company that looks like this, and they don't have very many locations around the United States, but if you are close to them, I feel within a 2-hour drive, it's definitely a consideration that you guys should make to make the drive out to go and buy your parts from them. I'm lucky enough to have them around a 20-minute drive from my house. And honestly, it's such a great place where I buy all of my computer stuff. I've never bought anything off of Amazon. I've never bought anything basically anywhere else except of Microcenter, because all their stuff is usually set at an amazing price compared to anything like Amazon or anything else like that. As well, their customer support is amazing. I've had 2 dead hard drives from them, and they've literally just said, oh yeah, that's not supposed to happen, and they literally just gave me a brand new one without asking me any questions. Like, it's really good customer support. I had a broken laptop one time that I didn't even buy from them, and they basically, one of their guys sat down and helped me pick out a part that would help fix it. Again, amazing customer service. But again, we're talking about pre-builts today, and their pre-builts are always amazing value. I'll probably link one of the videos in the cards up top if you guys want to go and check out some of the pre-builts that they have that are amazing value. And they do have the new RTX 30 series and new Ryzen CPUs as parts of their new builds. And they're just, again, amazing value. Sometimes they are actually better value than you building it yourself, which I know is not something that happens very often, but they just have such amazing prices, and that's why they are a definite S tier in my mind. They are literally probably one of the best places to go and buy a gaming PC if you can find one in your area. And with me as a PC enthusiast, you know, I've always built my computers. If I was ever forced to get a pre-built computer, I would get it from Microcenter no matter what. Hands down, I would always get them from Microcenter. Alright, so this is HardwareJunkie from the future, and I just looked over one of these sites that I was originally taking a look at, and Redux I listed as a B tier. Now, I actually want to reassess that because there are some changes to their websites that they made from my previous review of them, and it has kind of changed my opinion. They're honestly one of the best value gaming PC companies out there. Now, and I'm going to talk about it in my next video, so make sure to subscribe if you guys want to see that. But they're going to be a definite S tier from now on, guys. Like, this is no joke. They're super good value now. So even though that Redux is going to be down here for most of the video, I'm not just going to redo the whole thing. But yeah, so just basically just put it up here for the S in your mind, just so that I'm not going to have to go back and redo this entire video. But when it comes down to it, they have really good customer support, just like Digital Storms, and as well, I mean, you get like a 2-year warranty, which I think most of these computers do come with some sort of warranty, though a 2-year warranty is a little bit longer, but again, most of the time, warranties kind of go to waste. It's kind of nice to have, but most of the time, people don't end up using them. Alright, so the next one we're going to be talking about is going to be Ibuypower, and for those of you who have no idea who Ibuypower is, I'm kind of stunned because they are one of the biggest companies in the gaming PC market that sells gaming PCs to the masses. And their logo is actually pretty synonymous with a bunch of other stuff. They had a esports team like back in the day. I know for like CSGO, there's a big scandal with all that stuff, and some of their stickers for the CSGO weapons are pretty famous in the CSGO collector scene. But their company is honestly amazing when it comes to just overall price to performance, customer service, and all that stuff. I mean, they're not super in every category, but they hit basically every category with, you know, a positive regard, right? Their customer support isn't amazing, but it's good enough to where it beats out a lot of other companies. Their cable management, again, not amazing, but it does beat out a lot of other companies. Their component selection, their prices, everything else, again, it's not amazing in one particular area, but everything kind of hits the mark where it comes from. So that's why I actually consider this thing an A-tier company. For those of you who are looking out at buying an Ibuypower system, I would definitely go check out Linus Tech Tips Secret Shopper. They actually rated these guys as the winner of that series just because of price performance and all. I mean, basically all those reasons that I listed. Their price performance is great. And all other kind of stuff, right? So I definitely think that they warrant an A kind of tier, but they just aren't as good as Microcenter. So yeah. Alright, so Xidax. Xidax is one of those companies that I never recommend to anybody. They're always kind of on my list where I'm like, yeah, you definitely shouldn't be talking to these guys when it comes to building a gaming PC, because they're basically a Digital Storms but worse. They don't really have the brand recognition that Digital Storms have. They definitely don't have like the infrastructure and all the kind of customer support stuff that they do. Digital Storms, again, is a boutique company, which is what Xidax is positioning itself as, like a custom kind of high-end stuff, but they're, again, always overpriced. And I feel like if you're doing something like that, you would rather buy from Digital Storms than buy a company like Xidax. So I'm going to put them as an E. I definitely don't think that they are an F tier, just because I actually have heard some okay things from them, but nothing to where I would think that they would warrant a D or a C tier. Alright, so CLX, I've actually done a lot more work on these guys than probably anybody else. And I think they're really good. I don't think that their price performance is absolutely phenomenal compared to some of these other companies, just because it's really hard to hit that mark when you're a company like theirs. Basically what Xidax does is they're kind of like Digital Storms, but they are a little bit better in kind of a lot of ways, right? So they've got pretty decent customer support, maybe not as good as Digital Storms, but the part selection that they have is way better than any company on this list. You basically can pick anything that you want in your computer, as well with like all the newer hardware is out as well. You can get custom paint jobs and all other kind of stuff. They got pretty decent customer service, like I stated before. Now their pricing isn't bad. Like it's just not as competitive as some of these like companies like Microcenter, maybe Ibuypower, but it definitely is not bad. It's definitely better than Digital Storms. It's a little bit better than Redux, though sometimes Redux does beat it out in a couple of areas. I just think for the factor of customability, basically being able to pick your entire PC yourself, and having, again, fairly decent pricing, I think that Xidax is definitely an A-tier company. Now, again, if you guys want to know more about them, I should have their company linked up in a card up above. Alright, so Skytech is another company out there that basically kind of goes for the value brand. Now, they sell a lot of their computers on Amazon. They sell a lot of computers in general, I feel like, just because their stuff's usually pretty decent value. Now, the main reason why I don't think Skytech is amazing, because their prices are really, really good, but the main reason why I don't think that they're amazing is because they do kind of skip out on a lot of areas that make it kind of like you might want to kind of double think about it. So what are those things? Well, from what I've heard, the cable management on their PCs is not great whatsoever. It's just kind of all thrown in there, and as well, usually case selection is not great. They're usually pretty cheap and have pretty bad airflow. So again, things are going to get pretty hot. And lastly, things like power supplies and motherboards are usually not the priority on their list, whereas those are things that they usually cut down in terms of cost just to kind of save $1. So I do think that they offer some pretty good value, but I don't think that, you know, I would go specifically out of my way to buy one of their PCs unless I was looking for a very, very specific price range. Probably like if you're looking in the $600 to $700 price range, Skytech is probably where a lot of people go to. All right, so NZXT. This was a really hard one for me to kind of decide. I'm still kind of thinking about it in my head. Now, they aren't amazing in terms of any which way or another, right? They offer gaming PCs basically on par with everybody else. Like, honestly, I feel like the build quality is probably around the same as Redux. Customer support is probably worse than Digital Storms, and I don't know, like their price performance isn't amazing either. Like they don't beat out people like Microcenter, Ibuypower, or ABS. They're not really going for that kind of thing. Now they do have like a certain aesthetic, I guess, that some people really like, but I don't think that really warrants a purchase from them. Now, in just the strict aspects of looking at their gaming PCs, I think that they're a C tier. Again, I just wouldn't go on my way to buy from these guys. They're not amazing, then they're not bad, right? They just kind of are in the middle. I don't really think that I would sit down and be like, yeah, I'm going to buy an NZXT machine. Like, if you want to get, like, something with an NZXT aesthetic, I'd probably just go with Ibuypower, which, again, is the parent company of NZXT and has a lot of their cases for sale, basically, with their own logos on it, usually at some better prices and better performance. Alright, so VRLA Tech, this is another company that I have recommended a ton on this channel for a couple of reasons. One, their price performance is unbeatable, right? You cannot touch these guys in terms of price performance. Lyte Tech almost rivaled these guys back in their early days, but recently VRLA Tech has kind of pulled away. They have around basically the same pricing as Microcenter, though Microcenter does usually have better prices every once in a while, depending on like what sales are going on and that kind of stuff. But VRLA Tech, oh my god, it's just so good compared to everything else that's on the market. VRLA Tech isn't just a gaming PC company, right? They actually started as a server and workstation manufacturer. So they actually have a pretty decent reputation within the industry, right? You can't be selling servers and workstations to corporate clients without having decent customer support and good reliability, right? You just aren't going to be competitive in the market if other companies see that you're not doing that kind of stuff. And they definitely carry this over into their gaming PCs. Again, Linus Tech Tips has done a video on these guys reviewing one of their PCs. It was actually a pretty decent review. And Lyte Tech tips is usually pretty hard on new companies that are coming to the game, and I think that his review was very fair of VRLA Tech. I think that they do some amazing work in terms of price to performance. They do kind of skip out on case and power supply and motherboards, but for the amount of performance to the amount of money that you're spending, it's honestly something that I think a lot of people don't really think matters too much. So that's why I think these guys are actually an S tier. Just because of just how good these guys are. Alright, so let's move on to Alienware. We got to hear another bad one. So Alienware is just one of those PC companies that, well, for those of you who guys don't know, this is owned by Dell. I think a lot of people kind of understand that, but Alienware is Dell's gaming brand, and I'm not a huge fan of Dell. For a couple of reasons. One is that their parts are a lot of times proprietary, especially in their normal desktops, but it honestly sometimes translates over into their gaming desktops, whereas it's not all the time, but again, a lot of the time it is. Like their power supplies a lot of times are proprietary, which for those of you guys who don't know what that means, I guess in terms of computers, is that it's made custom. So like when they make a power supply, right, it's not like the standard kind of stuff that you would see in a normal gaming PC, right? It's got like its own specific connectors, which basically restricts upgradability, right? And another thing with power supplies, they usually skip out on these things a lot. So in terms of upgradability, if you're upgrading to something that uses more power than what you previously had in there, a lot of times you might become incompatible with it, just because that power supply is not going to be able to do that. As well, quality components usually aren't great. Motherboards, I know, again, they don't do a great job on them. I know cases usually don't have great airflow. Things get very hot. Again, cooling performance is not great. Customer support is not great. Pricing is okay, but again, not great compared to some of these other companies that are out here. So a definite F tier for me. Definitely would not be buying from Dell. I know it's probably going to make a lot of you guys angry, but that's just my personal opinion on these guys. Cyberpower PC, alright, these guys are kind of on the same level as Ibuypower, and just in terms of brand recognition, I think that what these guys offer is fairly similar to Ibuypower, but just a little bit worse in certain areas. Like their case selection, again, is not as great. I definitely think NZXT is kind of a helper out there for Ibuypower, just in terms of supplying better cases for a little bit cheaper. Now, NZXT, I wouldn't consider their cases amazing, but it's definitely better than some of the stuff that Cyberpower PC has. So, just because of that, they're going to be a B tier. I don't think that they're bad in terms of anything else. Like, their customer support's okay, and their part selection usually is pretty good, and their price to performance is also usually pretty good, but they're just a little bit worse than Ibuypower, so therefore they're going to be a B tier company. Alright, so let's move on to ROG PCs. Now, those ones are you guys aren't probably going to know a whole lot about. And I don't really even know why I kind of include this in here. I probably could have done without it. But Asus ROG does make some gaming PCs, and they usually aren't the best in terms of price to performers. They mostly kind of go for the gamer aesthetic than anything else, and they do cheap out on components just like all these other companies out there. So I'm going to put them as the D tier. They're just not great. I probably wouldn't recommend them, though their components are usually pretty good. Like if you're buying like an ROG motherboard or like an ROG Strix GPU, usually they are really good performers. They do usually cost a bit more, but they definitely are usually high quality products. But just in terms, of their gaming PCs, I probably wouldn't be buying an altogether ROG gaming PC unless it's like on sale or something like that. Alright, so Origin PC, kind of the same thing as Digital Storms, usually around kind of the same thing, but if you're in the market for something like that, I probably would buy just from Digital Storms. Origin PC, you're definitely just going to get the D tier just because I just don't think that they're as good as Digital Storms. They're not offering anything that's different, they're not as big, and yeah, that's basically the main reason why I don't think that they are going to be as competitive. Alright, so Maingear out here, I'm going to put them as a C tier. They're, again, more of a boutique thing, kind of like Digital Storms, but they do offer a bit better price performance, though they do kind of lack in other areas. But yeah, I think that that's basically kind of where I would line them up as. And then Omen, this is HP's gaming brand. I don't think that these guys are nearly as bad as Dell. I actually think that they're a lot better than it, like especially when it comes just to most of their gaming PCs. When it comes to price to performance, usually build quality, they don't really have a lot of proprietary stuff. it's usually pretty good, but again, they are just such a big brand. They aren't going to have that great of customer support. But I don't know. This one's kind of a hard one for me to pin down as well. So I'm just going to put them in the C category. It's just kind of a safe little thing that I feel comfortable putting them in as. So yeah, that's my gaming PC tier list. If you guys have any things that you want to talk about in the comment section below, or anything that things should be changed around based off of like different experiences, stuff like that, definitely sound off down there. But yeah, guys, so thank you for watching the video. If you guys want to see more content like this, we basically just talk about gaming PCs, gaming PC companies, talk about the market, talk about deals and all that kind of stuff. So if you guys like the kind of content, make sure to subscribe. If you like the video, and if you guys have any kind of tech questions or just want to sit down and talk tech to other people in the community, definitely guys go and join that Discord linked down below. All right, it's been a blast, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.